Okay, thank you very much. I'd like to call the quarterly board meeting of the Kentucky Retirement System to order. And Leanne, will you read the legal public statement?
Yes, ma'am. This is a regular meeting of the Kentucky Retirement System's Board of Trustees. This meeting is being broadcast via video teleconference pursuant to Kentucky Revised Statutes Section 61-826 and may be viewed by the public at the Kentucky Public Pensions Authority offices at 1260 Louisville Road, Frankfort, Kentucky. It is also being broadcast to the public via Facebook. If you are speaking and are not appearing by video, please identify yourself before talking. In the event the audio or video broadcast is interrupted, we will attempt to reestablish a connection. If a connection cannot be reestablished within 30 minutes, the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled to another date.
Okay, thank you very much. And Sherry, roll call, please. And
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Hampton,
here.
Mr. Atkins, Ms. Bova,
Here.
Ms. Eaves,
Here.
Mr. Lane, Dr. Miller,
Here.
Mr. Piercy,
Here.
Mr. Summers, Ms. Thompson, and if you'll give me a moment, Mr. Atkins is coming on as we speak.
Great.
I'm here. Thank you.
There, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we have a quorum.
You do have a-
Sherry, are there any public comments?
No, ma'am, no public comment today.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, the next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. We have April 17th and April 29th. Are there any discussions on the minutes?
Move approval.
Thank you, Dave. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's adopted. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is the review and approval of the actuarial assumptions, and we have Danny and Janie both on. Is that correct?
That is correct. Good morning.
You've got the floor.
Thank you, Janie.
Well-
Go ahead, Janie.
Thank you. Good morning today, board. We're going to go over the economic assumptions today. As you all know, the statutes require us to look at these economic assumptions every other year. So that's what we're doing today to satisfy that requirement. The economic assumptions we're looking at today is the price inflation assumption, the investment return assumption, and the payroll growth assumption, which you can see here on your screen. Kind of the headline summary of everything I'll talk about today is we are recommending no changes to these assumptions for the upcoming June 30, 2025 actuarial evaluation. If we go actually to page 15 of the board books, I believe it is, there we go. I'll go over each of these a little bit. So we'll start with your price inflation assumption. The important thing to remember about this assumption is it doesn't have a direct impact on your actuarial evaluation. So it doesn't have a direct impact on your liabilities or your contribution rates. This is really just a macroeconomic assumption that we consider when setting your other assumptions. And the reason for that is because you don't have any plan provisions that tie to inflation, such as a COLA or anything like that. So we look at different metrics as far as inflation, looking at different professional modelers, looking at the bond markets, and your current assumption of 2.5% is well within that range. So we're recommending no change. If we go to your next page here, we'll move to your investment return assumption. As you know, there's 3 different investment return assumptions for the K non-HAS and state police pension funds. We have an assumption of 5.25%. For the K hazardous pension fund, that's 6.25%. And then for all the insurance funds, we use 6.5%. So kind of looking at, keep in mind, we are not investment consultants. We don't put together our own capital market assumptions. Instead, what we do is we look at the different capital market assumptions for various investment consultants, including your own Wilshire. And what we do is we compile all of that against your asset allocations for all of the different funds, and we look at what the forward-looking expectations are going to be. As you can see, we may have had some short-term volatility in the markets over the last few years, but kind of long-term expectations haven't changed significantly over the last few years, which is why we're comfortable saying that your current assumptions are still reasonable, and we're not recommending any changes there. With that being said, if there are no questions from the board, I'll move on to your payroll growth assumption. If we skip a few more pages. Yep. And actually, if you skip down to the bottom set of graphs there, yes. So keep in mind your payroll growth assumption. This assumption doesn't have any impact on your liabilities. This is really a financing mechanism assumption. So when you think about financing your unfunded liability, think of it as, any other kind of mortgage. This is essentially how are your payments going to grow in the future. So right now, all of the plans have a 0% payroll growth assumption. Essentially, we're assuming your payments stay flat. So similar to your mortgage, when you start making payments, principal payments on your mortgage, we assume that those payments stay flat in the future. The reason we have payroll growth assumptions is for the KHAS and the state police fund, those payments are made as a percentage of payroll. So the theory is that if those payments change along with your total payroll, then they stay flat as a percentage of payroll. But keep in mind, there's a lot of risk in having a higher payroll growth assumption. Essentially, when you have a higher payroll growth assumption, you're saying you're paying less today, you're paying more tomorrow. So that's why we're saying we're recommending keeping with that 0% payroll growth assumption. Keep in mind, historically, payroll for these funds has remained flat if they haven't decreased, as you can see on this chart. We have seen a surge in increases in payroll over the past few years, which has been great to see for these plans. For the KHAS and for the state police, that's driven contribution rates down. And so that's what we'll see. If we continue to see this trend in your payroll increasing, we'll see contribution rates coming down. And we'd like to see that naturally. So if payroll comes up, we'd like to see those contribution rates come down with actual experience rather than artificially bringing those down with a change in assumption. Keep in mind with the K non-hazardous fund, we did have a change with House Bill 8, so that's still paid just as a dollar amount by your employers. And so those are just paid as a level dollar amount for no change there. So if there's no questions from the board, that's all I have. Yes, Ms. Percy.
Danny, is
I
there
just have-
anything else?
I'm sorry,
ahead.
Lynn, can I
Go
ask
ahead,
a quick
Keith.
question here?
Yeah.
Janie, when I look at this, and I'm on board with doing no payroll increase, because obviously we were even negative for several years, probably for 10 in the K non-hazardous. But when I look at this, the K hazardous and the SPRS have over the last 10 years, a 7 and a 5% average increase per year, correct? Okay.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Now, if you note, it's really driven by the last couple of years.
Percent.
And if you look at state police, a lot of it was driven by much needed increase in recruiting and headcount. Their membership count was declining. It just wasn't a popular time to be a state trooper, as you probably know better than anybody. And they've it's changed that. And then we have the same experience if you look at the active headcount, you can for up a little bit on the KHAS. It's been some of the driver too, and historically, some of that's been driven by entities wanting to move people from the K non-has to the K has, because ironically, it was a more generous benefit at a cheaper price. And, so it's kind of driven in there. So then, Keith, I apologize if I cut you off, but I want to give you a little background information about why we saw that in the last couple of years. So with that, I apologize. If you want to follow up, I'll be quiet.
Yeah, no, it's fine, and you're right. It looks like the majority of those increases started in 22, so they're pretty new. I guess my question is, how many more years of decent payroll growth will we have to see, do you think, before GRS will recommend we actually raise that?
I don't have a crystal ball, but I think have to be a lot more years for us to recommend.
Okay.
I mean, I think raising that payroll growth assumption, it's not just about the experience of the plan. It also raises the risk of the retirement system in general. When you think about having a payroll growth assumption, when you beat your payroll growth assumption, your contribution rates come down, right? So, if you have payroll growth that's higher than you're expecting, your contribution rates come down, everyone's happy. When you don't beat it, you don't get the contributions you need those contribution rates go up. Maybe we get back in this spiral where payroll goes down again and you get back in this. So there's, there's not symmetric risk there. So you really have to be careful about raising that assumption. And so it really would have to be a long-term trend for us to really consider that.
Yeah,
And I don't
think
know if Danny has more thoughts on that.
Yeah, Janie brought up a great point. I think, I agree with her, and that I think of it in terms of a totalitarian approach about what are the implications of. First of all, you notice the actual experience. When I think of it, as Janie noted, it's a finance mechanism like paying a mortgage, and you're backloading your mortgage payments. And it caused problems prior to 2017, and one of the contributors to how KRS and the other systems got to be where they are. So when you combine a payroll growth assumption with a long amortization or funding period, that's where it becomes potentially problematic. So as we see this long-term funding base that's established for each of these start walking down and really get below 20 years, and I think we're at 25 or 24 right now, Jane, if I remember, then you can raise the payroll growth assumption and it be less problematic because your funding period is shortening, and so what you're doing in that case is you're covering your interest and you're paying a little bit of principal on your payments. Well, if you said differently, if you have a payroll growth assumption that's high, say 2, 3, 4%, and you have a long funding period, you're not even paying interest on your unfunded liability, and your outstanding balance of your unfunded liability is growing. So simplistically, what we'd like to see is, hey, each year is the system paying down some principal on your unfunded liability. And I think when you're looking at it at that point, I think that's just you can get into details after that, but to me, that's just kind of principle based of being in a good position.
Yeah, and I'm not advocating making any change. I was just curious. Look, I was
Yep.
on the board when we were assuming 4% payroll growth, and we were going in the negative every year, which obviously exacerbated our underfunding issue.
Yep.
And I don't want to get back into that, but I was just curious how much more of a runway of growth we would have to have before we increase that. And it sounds like the answer is a very long one. So I'm good with that.
Thank you.
Danny, for the majority of the board, I think as we look at it, we look at that unfunded liability, and given that it's going in the right direction and has, since most everybody that's on this call has been on the board, I thank you for all the explanations and appreciate your input.
Thank you. We want this to be a success story for the Commonwealth as too. So
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Are there any other questions of either Janie or Danny? One more, either one of you all come back with the results in September, October?
I believe in October. There might be some preliminary updates provided as along the way, but it'll be October.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, with that, I think we need a motion to approve the proposed actuarial assumptions. And is there a motion for this?
I'll make a motion for approval.
Thank you, Ramsey. And seconded, Dave. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? The motion passes, and thanks very much. And so now I think we've got the Mike Lamb show. Mike, you have 6, 7, 8, and 9. You want to just take over the agenda for a bit?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Hampton. The first item is just an update on the external auditor RFP. Currently, we're still in contract negotiations. I wouldn't even call it negotiations at this point. It's just fine-tuning a few legal items, and then we should have an external auditor. That's with the highest scored bidder, And I can't say who that is yet, but hopefully in a few days, we'll be able to announce who our external auditor will be for fiscal year 2026. And that's all I can update you on that. If you would like.
Next one then is the hybrid
Page
percentage.
20. Yes. So back in April, the KPPA board approved the new hybrid percentages for KRS and CERS to begin on July 1st for fiscal year 26. That is 35.65% for KRS and 64.35%. What I'm asking for today is the internal allocation of the three plans that KRS administers. So the non-hazardous, the hazardous, and the SPRS. And that breakdown is there as follows. 31.266 for KERS non-hazardous, 3.688% for KERS hazardous, and 0.696% for SPRS.
Okay, any discussion? Looking at the changes.
I'm sorry. I have one question. Why? Okay, why does it say, so KR in that top box, KRS, I get that. And then the second box, it says KRS, but then, am I missing something? Oh, CERS total?
So that's a typo in that bottom box for CERS. That's last year's percentages for KRS. So it's just on this memo for comparative purposes. And yes, Ms. Bova, I apologize. That is supposed to say KRS total, and that was last year's
I
numbers.
got you. I was confused. Thank you.
You get an A for detail today, Ramsey. Okay, with that, we also need a motion here to approve the 2026 allocation of the KRS hybrid percentage of administrative expenses between, as Mike said, KERS non-haz, KERS hazardous, and SPRS. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, with no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is adopted. And thank you again. And Mike, you've got number 8.
So number
Draft
8 is
administrative.
this is the draft admin budget that will be presented to the KPPA board at the end of this month. The number at the bottom of $49.9 million, that is the already approved biennium budget that will be given to us and allocated which has been given to us and allocated in the last budget bill. And so our job is to allocate that among the line items. So this is really for informational purposes only. I have last year's budget listed over there as well at 48.9. As you can see, there was a $216,000 unallocated amount. Currently, as it stands right now, there's only $87,000 unallocated for the next fiscal year. That may go down a little bit more. We're still working through some personnel board adjustments that take effect on July 1 for various positions. And so my assumption is that the personnel line item will go up a little more and reduce that unallocated reserve. But those are the numbers that I anticipate coming before the KPPA board at the end of June.
Okay. So anybody have any questions for Mike on this? Hearing none, Mike, on your last item today is the quarterly financial reports.
Yep, and it's a little bit longer, so I apologize for the time it's going to take. But Sheriff, if you want to start at the bottom of page 24, you see the total fiduciary net position for the KRS systems at $9.3 billion, which is up 10.27% or $864 million compared to the prior year's quarter ended March 31. The three pension plans total $6.6 billion, and the 3 insurance plans total $2.7 billion. This is driven mostly by the investments at fair value, which I think is on page 23. It increased overall by 11.84% or by $935 million. The pension plans are up 15.34% by themselves. The insurance plans are up 4.27%. Most asset classes having are having large upside swings compared to the prior year, including core fixed income, real return, and specialty credit. Core fixed income's up also due to some reallocation of some funds from other categories, including public equity. If we go to page 25, this is the combining statement of changes. Near the bottom of page 26, you can actually see the $64.8 million. That represents the change, in this case, an increase in the fiduciary net position for the 3 quarters ended March 31. In comparison to 3 quarters of the prior year, there was also an increase, but it was at $982.5 million. The 3 pension plans show $498 million, $50 million, and $46 million net increases for a total of $595 million. The 3 insurance plans show $46.6 million, $19.4 million, and $3.8 million, respectively, for a total of $69.8 million. This increase is a combination of $1.2 billion in contributions plus $460 million in net investment income, and all of that being larger than the $1 billion of deductions. And if we move to the contribution report, we can go into a little bit of that. The light yellow line shows that the 3 pension plans reported positive net contributions of $350.4 million, $17.5 million, and $26 million. In addition, if we remove the net investment income of $91.5 million, $20.8 million, and $14.2 million, 2 of these 3 plans have a positive net cash flow for the 9 months ended 3/31. Non-hazardous is at $258.9 million. Hazardous is at negative $3.3 million, and state police is at $11.8 million. In comparison to the same 9-month period last year, member contributions are up $7.5 million across all 3 pension plans. Employer contributions are down $24.8 million in all 3 plans. That's due to lower rates by the budget office for each fiscal year. The AALC is down in the non-hazardous plan by $25.6 million. General fund appropriations are up $45 million in the non-hazardous and $18.8 million in the state police. Benefit payments refunds are up $25 million across all plans, and administrative costs have increased slightly by $100,000. Realized gains for this period far exceed the realized gains of the prior period by $150.6 million, and unrealized gains are much lower than the unrealized gains of the prior period by $284.1 million. The contribution plan page for the insurance plan is right below that. It shows negative for all 3 plans, and that's due to lower employer contributions and ALC amounts, as well as not having a Humana gain share payment in this first 3 quarters. If we remove the net investment income of $34.7 million, $12.1 million, and $5 million, we show negative cash flow of $39.8 million, $13.0 million, and $9.5 million, respectively. That's the financial statements. I do have some invoices to go through. If you would like me to continue, I can do that, or field questions on these first.
Let's get some questions, and then if you can, that would be helpful. Mike, just for everybody, when we talk about insurance being negative, I think about what Janie and Danny were saying. This is 100%. Isn't this a very well funded?
Yes.
So, okay. So it's got higher risk things. Go ahead.
Yes, they're well funded. So the employer contributions related to insurance are at 0% for the most part, and so we're not getting any income coming in for that. And basically, we're just managing we get an investment income, and we're managing the outflows of cash for benefit payments related to insurance.
Okay, thanks. Anybody have any other questions? Okay, you want to go over invoices?
Yep. So these are the outstanding invoices by type and employer. This is the traditional report that's been presented for the past several quarters. At 3/31, the grand total is $6.2 million, and that's 7% lower than the 12/31 balance of $6.7 million. This is a decrease in spite of the increase in the AALC amounts directly attributable to Kentucky River Community Care. They continue to accrue their AALC invoices at $121,000 a month. So that's a $363,000 increase per quarter. There are decreases in the balances owed by state police, Department of Highways, Department of Community-Based Services, and Department of Parks compared to the December balance. The next page is a draft schedule that I'm attempting to put these into one chart. It's still a couple pages longer than I'd like it to be. But this is part of the employer invoice project that KPPA staff is working on to help clean up past dues, present things differently, and investigate methods and to help employers pay their invoices more timely, et cetera. So again, this is combining the largest employers, and then it's breaking out the types and the buckets. The aging buckets is a new addition to show how old some of these invoices are. The ERC team, as well as the legal team, is continuing to work through all aspects that they can to collect these balances and work with the employers to continue to pay them timely going forward. The next page is the penalty invoice report. On page 32, it shows we had 3 penalty invoices created for the quarter and 10 penalty invoices were paid during the quarter. And then on 33, we can start the admin budget. So this is a little bit dated. This was as of March 31. I can tell you that through June 15, we are still on track to be under budget for the fiscal year, end of June 30. My notes here are written out for you to read, but basically through the third quarter, we spent just over 26.1 million, which is 70% of the budget, leaving about 30% left to spend in the fourth quarter. Most of the line items are good. There's a few individual line items within those large categories that are going to go over budget, but there's plenty of capacity within the larger line item to cover that without having to bring anything back to the KPPA board for approval. And so I'll leave it there. And if you have questions on any of the line items, I'd be happy to try to address them.
Any questions from anyone? Don't see any, Mike. So you've got more?
That's it for me, I believe. Thanks for letting me join remotely today, and I apologize for having to do that.
Well, I think I see a couple elbows in there, so I thank you for your family for letting you do this too. One thing I'd like to say is the comments that we've had on accounts receivable, and I think about where it was, and I think about what you all have done. I think the whole staff gets a big pat on the back, and especially you for working this, and legal for helping and everything like that. So kudos on that.
Thank you. They appreciate it. They've been working hard for sure.
Okay. Thank you. And then next on the agenda, we have the investment committee report, and I'm guessing that Pruitt is not on there yet. So we'll go right to Steve.
Ms.
Thank you.
Hampton,
Good morning. Sorry, Sherry.
you skipped over the hazardous duty.
Oh.
Oh, mine's a change.
Sorry, Steve, if you don't mind.
Sure, no problem.
Back to Dewan.
All right. Good morning. Today we have 3 positions with the Department of Military Affairs being requested for hazardous duty. We have the Security Force Manager, Security Specialist Shift Supervisor, and a Security Specialist position. While these positions do not have peace officer standards and certification, they are required to carry a firearm while guarding the Department of Military Affairs properties against threats or intrusions, and also have the power to make arrests. In addition, all of these positions must go through security training certification programs, including firearm training and de-escalation tactics training. KPPA staff has reviewed the position questionnaires and the job descriptions, and these positions do meet the statutory guidelines for hazardous duty. Therefore, we request the board to approve these positions as hazardous.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? I think Danny helped explain why there's interest. It's better benefits and a little bit less cost. So I'm glad we're able to identify these people and move them into these categories. So any other questions? Any other comments?
I guess I'm interested in It may be just a military affairs issue, but how does someone have the ability to carry a firearm and make arrests but not be categorized as a law enforcement official?
That's a question that I do not have an answer for. In the descriptions they did provide, it does say they have the power to make arrests and they are required to carry a firearm, but it did not state why they are not considered peace officer. And that's something I can, if I need to, I can get back to you with that information.
I'm mainly just curious. I thought that sort of making arrests would seem to me to be, yeah. Anyway, thank you.
David, it could be there's something in Kentucky called a SLEO, Special Law Enforcement Officer, and they have police power only in designated places. For instance, the state police has facility security officers that only have police power on state property.
I got you.
So they're not POP certified, and it's probably a similar situation.
Gotcha. That makes a lot of sense.
Dewan, would you mind confirming that and just getting back to Dave?
Yes, I can do that.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Anything else on this, on the hazardous duty? And thank you for your work.
Madam
Okay, now Steve.
I move approval.
There is a approval, isn't there? Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Thank you.
Okay, Steve.
Thank you. Good morning. Just wanted to provide a few brief highlights of the portfolios and performance for the quarter, which were covered in the investment committee meeting on the 22nd, and also provide a brief update on activities since the end of the quarter. The investment committee had a regularly scheduled meeting on May 22nd, and as noted in the memo, there were no actions that were taken that required ratification of the board. Page 43, please, Sherry. Thank you. Consistent with the overall market backdrop, the portfolios produced modest positive performance during the quarter as risk markets sold off in March, giving up most of the gains they achieved at the beginning of the quarter, kind of as that post-election optimism in the U.S. gave way to concerns that policy uncertainty could tip the economy into a recession, which saw the S&P hitting a new record high in mid-February, only to tumble into correction territory in just 3 weeks. The KRS pension composite produced a return of 1.13% for the quarter, outperforming the blended benchmark by 26 basis points. And the KRS insurance composite produced a return of 0.39% for the quarter versus the benchmark return of 0.43. The big divergence there, obviously, is the allocation difference between the two, with the insurance portfolio having significantly more allocation to public equities. Fiscal year to date, the KRS pension composite has produced a return of 5.53% compared to the blended benchmark return of 5.11%, while the KRS insurance composite has produced a return of 5.03% versus its benchmark return of 5.20%. During the quarter, the core fixed income, real return, specialty credit portfolios all produced strong absolute performance, which was offset by the negative performance in public equities, which is the largest allocation across all of the portfolios. During the quarter, the real return and specialty credit portfolios were the real standouts from a relative performance standpoint, outperforming their benchmarks by 99 and 128 basis points, respectively. Turn to page 45, please, Sherry. Thank you. This is the new report that we've just started including in the last couple of investment committee meetings, and this is breaks out the performance for the internally managed portfolios, and all of the internally managed portfolios, and this is at the trust level. Not all individual portfolios are invested in these individual internal portfolios. The majority of these assets are passively managed and intended to replicate the return and risk of the public indices, providing inexpensive beta exposure to what are considered the more efficient markets, while providing staff flexibility and rebalancing the overall portfolio's asset and risk allocations. Additionally, staff manages a number of proxy portfolios to gain exposure to assets with similar risk, return, and economic characteristics, and serve as transitional positions for what are less liquid asset classes, as committed capital is called by managers and staff sources new investment opportunities. I would highlight that the real return and real estate proxy portfolios produce strong performance, outperforming their benchmarks by 340 and 242 basis points respectively. Longer term, all proxy portfolios have produced strong relative performance, contributing positively to overall portfolio performance. So all of the proxy portfolios are serving their purposes. Page 64, please. Portfolio attribution. Across the portfolios, the largest contributor to outperformance during the quarter was the strong relative performance in those specialty credit portfolios, as managers produced positive excess performance across mandates. The real return, public equity, and real estate portfolios were all positive contributors during the quarter as they outperformed their respective benchmarks. The real return posted a return of 2.85% for the quarter, outperforming the benchmark's return of 1.86%. The portfolio's largest allocation, the MLP investment, gained 6.8% during the quarter and has returned over 26% annualized over the last 3 years. The portfolio's farmland mandate was funded in the fourth quarter of 2024 and has returned 3.1% during that quarter. The portfolio's inland marine manager returned 1.4% for the fourth quarter. Again, those are all delayed performance numbers, and 8.2% for the full year. The largest driver of underperformance was private equity portfolios' underperformance relative to its public equity benchmark, a topic we've talked about several times. We're working diligently with Wilshire to make a recommendation, not just for potentially an additional performance benchmark for the private equity portfolio, but also some enhanced reporting that I think will lead to additional transparency. The overweight to public equity was also a modest detractor from overall performance, as that was produced negative performance during the quarter. Fiscal year to date, strong outperformance in the real return and specialty credit portfolios have been the most significant drivers of relative performance, while the underperformance in private equity has been its largest detractor. Page 76, please. From a peer perspective, all of the portfolios have performed well, producing top decile Sharpe ratios. That's the numbers there on the graphs and the numbers on the far right. And that really indicates that risk-adjusted performance and that top decile performance over the reported 1, 3, and 5-year periods, which really demonstrates the efficiency of the portfolio's construction as well as their management. So that's something we like to highlight. Obviously, the far left and the middle are going to be largely dictated by the asset allocation of the individual portfolios. Those come together to provide that risk-adjusted performance, and we obviously seek top quartile. And then over the last 1, 3, and 5-year periods, we've been able to achieve top decile across all of the portfolios. Page 88, please. Thank you. As of the end of the quarter, all asset classes for each portfolio were within the IPS specified ranges, with the majority of the positioning within 1% of the respective target allocation. During the quarter, we reduced the overall overweight to global public equities as we rebalanced U.S. and non-U.S. exposures. As you remember, we had a slight overweight to non-U.S. exposures entering the year. There was some outperformance relative to U.S. equities, so we rebalanced closer towards target. We remain modestly overweight public equities, partially as an offset to the underweight and the other component of that growth allocation, which is the private equity. We've remained neutral in our duration in the core fixed income portfolio as yields have remained volatile, with the benchmark 10-year trading in a wide 80 basis point range year to date. We continue to unwind those proxy positions in the real return allocation as managers have called capital, including, as we mentioned, the farmland mandate fully funding and over half of the railcar leasing allocation called last quarter. I'll pause there for any investment related questions, and then we can cover the investment budget. If not, Sherry, you can go to page 95, please.
Steve, I have one question on the rail
Absolutely.
cars. You said
Yes.
they've had half of the commitment called. Is that correct?
Correct.
Did I hear that
Yes.
right? What about the barges?
So the barges is fully called, and remember, we made an additional allocation, and we
Yeah.
expect that additional commitment to be called in the next quarter. So we expect the inland marine to be completely called by the end of September.
Okay, and
Yeah,
my description.
Good.
So
Yeah,
my description.
there's some live stuff with them. Like we have a meeting of the advisory committee on Friday to talk about what they're looking at using the money for. So yeah,
Okay,
it's a live
great.
thing. So it's a good question, Lynn. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, and
Mhm.
we'll look forward to the answer on that. And then for lack of better, the Texas highways.
Yeah, it's still going along. Yeah, it's doing
Okay.
well. Yeah,
Is it funded?
to.
Are
Oh yeah,
you
that's funded.
totally funded? And the last one is the.
It's not totally. There's like they have to hold some back for any additional things they might have. So usually people reserve some capital in case there's other things needed. But the vast majority of it's called, I think 80 to 90%. I think so.
Okay, thank you. That's interesting. And
Mhm.
I don't know what else. The sports facilities.
So
Again, are
the
they?
Arcto Sports Fund 2, we're nearly fully called, getting close to fully called. I know there's some live investment opportunities there as well. And as Anthony mentioned, typically when we commit 100 million to a fund, we would expect 85 to 90 million of that to get called. They always hold back some reserves, and that's what we anticipate from an allocation perspective. But it's been obviously, we appreciate the patience of the investment committee and the board. You guys are fully well aware that when we make commitments, especially to those alternative asset classes, it takes a while for the capital to get deployed. And we're very supportive of our managers. We want them to be prudent in their allocations, especially in volatile markets, and they've done a great job. And we're getting, as you see on the allocations, we're getting very close. We're winding down the proxy positions as that capital gets called. So I think in probably over the course of the next 3 to 6 months, we'll be very close to completely unwinding for the real return all of the proxy positions and be fully invested with the mandates.
Well, I'm sure speaking for the whole board, we appreciate not only the investment, but the monitoring and things. And I think it's only one more, the farms.
The farms, yeah, that's I think your all's portion was called first, so I think that's done.
Okay.
The part that's
Okay.
being still to deployed is the county plans.
Okay. Is there any other? Did I get them all?
I think you
maybe the energy one. Did they do that one? That one's a lot of that was called too, but it's about I think a quarter of the energy income, the producing energy.
Okay.
So
that was
great.
the Kane investment. That again, partially we are,
Yeah.
we like mandates in that space that are going to call capital quickly. That's part of the consideration when we look at investments. We certainly had experience over the years where, as you guys are well aware, where we commit capital and it's 2.5 years before we get close to fully called. So we like quicker ramps, but again, we're fully supportive of managers to be prudent in that deployment of capital.
Okay. Thank you all.
You're welcome. Page 95, please, Sherry. Thank you. Through the first 9 months of fiscal 2025, realized expenses were in line with the budget, with a total of 8.9 million, or 71% of the budgeted amount spent year to date. While you may notice, while we had originally intended to do an RFP for a new private markets consultant during fiscal 2025, that project has been delayed, and we expect to complete an onboarding during fiscal 2026. The legal and auditing services expenses are notoriously difficult to budget, as the realized expenses are based on litigation activity, which is often outside of the control of KPPA. And while there's been significant variance at the individual line item based on specific litigation activity, the overall legal expenses incurred are in line with the total budgeted. So a great job by Michael and his team in forecasting and budgeting. And while we expect litigation activity and related expenses to remain elevated next fiscal year, given the resolution in certain matters, we will be proposing a reduction of 1.2 million in the overall legal expenses for fiscal year 2026. So hopefully continue to whittle that down. Page 98, please. Thank you. At the pension level, fiscal year to date, total investment fees and expenses have been 23.5 million, or 23% higher than for the same period last year, while total assets have risen 8% over the same period. The notable increases include the 3 million in administrative expenses, 5.5 million in real return, which is driven by that increase in allocation that we've talked about, as well as performance fees. 7.5 million in real estate, which was largely due to the reversal of the negative performance fee accruals. 3.8 million in overall specialty credit fees and expenses, and that's based on an increase in assets, as well as an increase in performance fees. I would note, and I did note in the investment committee meeting, the public equity assets class may look off with a larger reported fee and a smaller reported asset size. That's not due to an increase in fee rates. It's just simply a timing issue. For the 9-month period ending 3/31, the average monthly market value for 2024 was 7.98 billion, while it was 8.67 for 2025. So it's just the timing of the values reported at a point in time. And it's actually we've had larger balances over the period of 2025. I would also highlight that the systems continue to benefit from the reduction in fees in core fixed income asset class as a result of managing a part of the portfolio internally. A 12% increase in management fees year over year, while assets have increased by 33%, and a 17% or $300,000 reduction in management fees from 2021, while assets have increased by over 1.1 billion or 50%. Since the end of the quarter, volatility has picked up with sentiment-driven sell-offs and rallies based on headlines and evolving narratives, as well, I'm sure we're all aware. The S&P is currently up over 21% since its low on April 8th, one of the biggest rallies ever for the index, but is still lower than it was 6 months ago. After an initial read of a 20 basis points contraction for the first quarter, the latest Atlanta Fed GDP Now model estimates real GDP growth for the second quarter at 3.8%. April performance was recently finalized and distributed, with the KRS pension composite producing a return of 62 basis points for the month, while the KRS insurance composite produced a return of 67 basis points. May performance is still preliminary, but the portfolios performed well in line with markets during the month and are indicated up 225 to 275 basis points. During May, volatility remained elevated. That's been a theme that we've talked about over the last several months and quarters. As trade policy roller coaster continued, Moody's downgraded U.S. debt, and the House advanced a reconciliation bill that would further increase the federal deficit. During the month, risk assets roared back, with broad U.S. public equities up 6.4%. Growth stocks outperformed value, and large cap outperformed their small cap counterparts. Non-U.S. equities performed almost as well, up 6% for the month, with developed markets outperforming emerging markets. In May, real assets were broadly positive, with listed real estate up 1.4% and oil up 4.4%. High yield bonds were up 1.7% as credit spreads tightened 70 basis points, and leverage loans were up 1.55% for the month. Core fixed income was a laggard, losing 72 basis points as rates rose, with the U.S. 10-year 24 basis points higher on the month. As we've moved into June, markets have remained volatile, very news flow and data driven. Risk sentiment, as we saw last week, was sharply lower on the back of lagging momentum and the surprise of Israel's action against Iranian nuclear facilities. That escalation has fanned fears of instability across the Middle East. The risk of geopolitical events, combined with uncertainty around ongoing tariffs and trade policies, as well as the administration's tax and spending bill, has led to modest risk adjustments, but in our view has not yet led to a shift in the narrative. In the near term, markets are likely to remain cautious, with range-bound trading as consumers and businesses adopt a wait-and-see approach until there is greater clarity and uncertainty. In this environment, we're focused on continuing to move the portfolios towards their asset allocation targets and rebalancing to manage risks. I did want to provide an update. I know Rebecca's on the call, but the Louisville office, Rebecca has been working extremely hard with real properties. I think we're fingers crossed in the final stages. My understanding is there are a few additional levels of approval that are required before we can sign a lease. And the expectation is once that lease is finalized, build out could take 90 to 120 days. I did also want to note from the board, as the board approved, the GP for Bay Hills funds has officially been removed, and Murray Analytics has been appointed as the liquidating person. And that was under Section 7 of the KRS procurement policy. We've been working with Marty and her team to ensure we have everything in place for a smooth transition and ongoing management and operation of the funds. Following the reconciliation process, approximately 17 million that have been sitting, and that's across both trusts, that have been sitting in uninvested cash was transferred to the portfolios. Longer term, we are evaluating whether investments in the funds can be transferred in kind to the portfolios to be managed in-house by KPPA staff, which would further reduce the overall fees for the investments. That's all I had. I'm happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions for Steve? Yeah, that was the Bay Hills was very good news, for everybody, again, the whole team doing that.
It took a long while and a lot of hard work, legal ops. So everyone's lent a hand in that, and we are happy we were able to get that over the line.
Yeah. Okay, Carrie's also on the agenda, is that right? Does she
That's
have
correct.
anything?
Yeah, if you'll just go to 120 there. Thank you. I'm Carrie Bass. I'm the KPPA Compliance Officer. I'm just going to hit a few highlights from the Quarterly Investment Compliance Report for the quarter ending March 31st, 2025. All guidelines from your policies and manager guidelines were in compliance during that quarter. As you previously saw, in Steve's portion of the report, the asset allocations were all in range. And finally, your proxy reports are on the website and also linked in the material to ensure compliance with statute. If anybody has any questions, please let me know.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Carrie? Appreciate all the reports. And now we have Dr. Miller. Are you able to, do you want to take over, Dr. Miller? I'm not sure she's still on. Or Keith?
I am. I'm just in a rural spot and I don't have great service. Connie is going to do the report, so I think she's on.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thanks, Connie.
You're welcome, Dr. Miller. What I have is an informational memo from the committee that met on May the 14th, 2025. I want to make just a committee selected Keith Piercy as the chair and Dr. Krista Miller as the vice chair. And the two main points I wanted to make in this committee memo is that the 2024 plan performance, there is some really good points there that you'll see detailed. There's one question I kind of want Humana to kind of speak to, because of the essential plan saw an increase in the medical and pharmacy claims costs. The premium plan, it was about the same, 5% and 5.2%. So that kind of talks about the utilization. So Humana can, I believe they're on, and they can help us look at that piece. So that's one of the main points I wanted to bring out, and that's tied to an increased utilization of medical and premium and pharmacy claims. So that kind of, you can see where the story's going. So do you have a question? Let's let Humana answer that, because that is from 5.4% to a 20.3% increase in the medical and pharmacy on those 4,000 or so individuals because of the utilization in that essential plan.
Hey, Connie, it's Tracy Garrison.
Hi, Tracy.
Hi. Carrie wasn't able to be with us from the pharmacy team, but I know she spoke on this topic, and primarily what's driving that significant increase is really related to specialty prescription medication. So I think historically, members that have elected this plan have had low utilization of pharmacy, but adding on just a handful of those specialty medications, which are extremely high cost, can have, obviously, as you can see here, a significant increase in the overall expense expense to the pharmacy plan. So at least for 2024, that is primarily the driver of the increase on that pharmacy spend.
Thank you. More specifically, just the rest of the things that were discussed in 2024 plan performance is the increase in their member participation for the health alerts, preventive services, silver sneakers. We always like to see those things happening. That was presented to the committee as some utilization points from the yearly Compass reporting that encompasses all sorts of utilization and performance measures and financial. And the Medicare final, next paragraph, the third paragraph is the Medicare final notice came out. They are giving an increase in the bid and the contracting process, but kind of offsets. There's a increase in utilization in the 2024 plans that as well at medical and pharmacy, they're using more. So you're probably going to see an increase in the premium for 2026. The renewal will be discussed in the September meeting. One, to make you aware of that, though, just kind of a, hey, this might be the result. So you can anticipate some of that. And the last point was also informational, but the committee that we are statutorily, I say we as KRS, CERS, the boards are, there is a committee that the Kentucky Employees Health Plan, we have quite a few retirees enrolled in that plan. And so the last participant has been, of course, Jerry Powell. He has served in that capacity for a couple of years. Those details are in the memo that's right below this one. And then below that is the statute 18A that kind of shows that the committee is required to have a retired member in there, and it looks like we can use an extension, the contract that we would need to recommend a new one in October. So the committee's going to look in September again to see. There are some retirees that actually, some of them served on that committee in the past as a capacity. There's state police retiree, there's KRS retirees. There might be a SERS. I think Mr. Owens is going to assist with some of the people that are interested. And so those will be discussed at the September meeting. Mr. Piercy is aware of this. I think Aaron has been working, with some of the people that had, like I said, we have a couple, and I mean, Mr. Owens may have had some. So we, I think, have interest in that, and that's very good for our this plan our retirees are on, because it's a monthly engagement. The meeting is in person at Frankfurt, and we've been engaged with this committee since before I arrived in 2005. So I've been on it since 2006. I followed up as proxy. We've always had, believe it or not, someone retired and on the board of trustees has been participating, and I've been their proxy for all these years. So they're looking at that, and it's if Chris, Sherry, can you roll down just a little? That'll show them yeah, thank you. That'll show them that memo, and then below that's the statute. So we've talked to DEI. They're okay. October, we expect to bring in our next board meetings for the quarter, we next bring, the committee will bring that recommendation they have to the full board. So if you all have any questions, please let me know. That's really all we have, and I appreciate the new members on the committee. They are very engaged and very professional and very excellent in their jobs. I'm really impressed with how everyone participates in that committee, and I want to thank you all.
Okay, thank you. Connie, did I understand you right that this appointment or the recommendation is actually done by, is actually done by the retiree health plan, not by the KRS board?
Well, it's a combination. The committee has always discussed it, looked at it, kind of participated in recommending, and then the full board, it always went to the board for ratification. So that's how it's similar to the other processes.
Okay, and does it go to the KPPA board also because it's a joint committee? Okay.
No, it only goes to each board.
Okay, sounds good.
And the statute mentions this. Basically, the KRS and SERS and state police are mentioned in the statute 18A 225. So this is specifically about the committee that's attached with that, and it's there. Thank you. This is 226, which has the specific group board. Probably is going to be updated when they can get their regulation statute changes approved in a housekeeping bill. So
Okay.
that may change a little bit. We may have actually a couple of positions, but I think they're wanting us KRS employee as well. But those are the future. That's just kind of their planning. But it is really good for engaging. We see all of the programs offered, the stats, the utilization, and I think this person can, Mr. Powell always brought back and shared with the committee, so it really fits good there. And then, like I said, we have appropriate backup. We bring all of those stats. We can do better presentations, more in depth, those kind of things because of that partnership and statutory requirement. Thank you, Ms. Hampton.
Okay, thank you, Connie. Does anybody have any questions for Connie or for Dr. Miller or for Humana? Okay, hearing none, there is no motion. And so we move on to John and the KRS CEO update.
Thank you and good morning. Several things to report. One is that we discussed closed litigation with Bay Hills earlier, and that's good, but there are other things that we'll discuss in the closed session that are continuing on, and I'll be a part of that discussion. I'll be working with Steve and Ryan and others about an initiative to hire a new consultant in the investment area. We'll report on that in future meetings. The education policy for trustees is still under consideration for changing it to a calendar year reporting, and everybody will be on the same calendar year, which is not the case now. That will probably be presented for approval at the next quarterly meeting. We'll be having some input into the agenda for the off-site meeting of the board, the retreat in October. I would encourage everybody to block out your calendar for those 2 days so that we have right now we've got apparently a 100% attendance at that meeting. So please protect that and make any suggestions for specific topics that you'd like to hear about at that meeting. Mike reported on the process for invoices. There's been an ongoing process for several months to resolve some of the outstanding invoices, and there have been a lot of invoices that have been resolved so far, which is a good thing. And then the reporting will be fine-tuned for the future. As a part of this, the various departments will be modifying their reporting process in order to make the accounts receivable process easier to monitor and enforce on a go-forward basis. So that's all I've got at this point.
Okay, thank you, John. Are there any questions for John? Hearing none, we'll go on. Is Ryan on the line now? Or
yes, I am.
Okay, great.
So thank you very much. Wanted to kind of hit some highlights from my memo, starting with item number 2, staffing. Currently, as of the date of this memo, is 264. And the personnel cabinet, we've discussed this before, but it's going to be an ongoing process. And there was 22 positions that the personnel cabinet made decisions on that will affect us directly. It will have a material impact to the budget. We're filling out some additional paperwork, submitting it back to the cabinet. There will be adjustments in compensation. Mike and myself and others will give additional details. But the key, I think, for now is it will be impactful to the personnel cost line. The first round was impactful. the second round will be impactful as well. The investments is going to welcome a new individual, Ian. He's going to start on the 23rd. Very excited about that. Not hiring at the portfolio manager level, but this role will support that role, support the portfolio managers. I have personal experience with Ian, so very happy when I heard that he was the selected candidate, and we'll move forward with his onboarding on the 23rd. Moving into item number 3, the strategic planning. We've talked about the kind of the sunset of the external professional service that helped start that. It's really more moving into internal and implementation of things that came out of the strategic plan. I'll talk about one here in a minute. We've got 4
It froze.
Sherry, is that everybody?
I think he's froze up. Yeah.
Mike did. I mean, Ryan did. I don't think he knows it.
He did. Can I jump in here, Lynn, and just kind of keep talking about strategic plan for Ryan until he joins back? Does that seem reasonable?
Yeah, somebody let him know he's frozen. Go for it.
Okay. So I'm trying to figure out where,
strategic plan.
Half and half. Okay. So these are just the things that we've been working on, the first few bullets. We're going to bring to the KPPA an updated, more detailed implementation plan specific to the new fiscal year. So you'll see that at the KPPA meeting on the 26th. But things are moving forward. We have ended the contract has completed with the external source. So now it's all internal, and we are working on processes and making that what it needs to be for KPPA. So the next one is this trustee impact forum. Oh, Ryan is back.
I am back. I have a backup, so I'm on my phone. Apologies. Of course, the internet was working great for the whole hour, and then when it's my section, it dropped. So I believe, Rebecca, we're on the trustee impact forum. Thank you. So as mentioned before, Sherry worked her magic, and we have a date that I think works for everyone, which I didn't know was possible, but kudos to Sherry on putting that together. Obviously, life can happen. But we're looking at some branding to maybe move away from the term of the retreat. We solicit input from the CEOs and various communications and others. Sherry had some good ideas. Communication has some good ideas. So we're going to label it the Impact Forum to be more specific about the training and get away from the connotation of retreat that may have concepts of golf and spas. That is not what it's going to be. It's going to really focus on that statutory training for the trustees, and also get the opportunity for in-person. I love remote, as many of us are, but I do think that that'll be a good event. As John said earlier, we have a list that Sherry's kept kind of on ideas. We're going to kind of put that together and get a training based on what was done in the past and the input that we've received from trustees. The PPO presentation, they've had a couple of meetings canceled, but did want to mention the last time they met was the 28th of April and the end of April. Aaron and I presented on legislation and the investment performance. Most of what Steve presented was presented to them as well. The Leadership Academy, this is one of the ideas, initiatives that came out of strategic planning, kind of focusing on the future leaders of KPPA on various topics that have been presented. I think HR has done a really good work on this. I think the August meeting should be exciting. I'll have the opportunity to speak to the group, but have been in and out of previous sessions. Hello. So I've been in and out of those sessions, and it'll conclude with attendance of the LEAD conference. So all aspects of the Leadership Academy, I think, has gone well, as well as the mentoring component that HR has worked really hard on. Mike Lamb and I were able to take class over Saturday and a Sunday for NC PERS. It's a great organization. There's 4 topics there. The risk management was one of the main items that really sparked our interest. But we've concluded that training, and it's been a while since I've taken a test, maybe since I took my Series 7 or 63. So Mike and I will be able to take that test and receive that certification. I think it's been a great program. So if others are interested in that in the future, we will definitely send them to that. We think we get a lot of information, and we brought that back as well. And finally, as I usually like to do, I wanted to kind of have some kudos. The Public Service Recognition Week, I think, went really well. There was various activities. I hope everyone saw some of the employee spotlights. I think those were very well done by communications and HR, kind of getting the personal side of employees that work in the organization. I think that was very productive, and we have some additional ideas for those in the future. I always want to call out something that's never been done. The school board reporting team in ERSI was able to complete their steps in that process for 171 school districts. And again, this is a feat that's never been accomplished before, kind of in this time frame, and it will allow the other groups more time, earlier information to complete their process. So kudos to them. Carrie, in the compliance office, she gave a previous conversation and that on her work product. I did want to flag another initiative that she's working on, the securities trading policy. That is an audit finding that we were aware of. The previous policy was maybe overly burdensome, and there was some potential for those that work in the finance industry to have their occupation impaired. And it could have even stretched into some individual investing in the trustees. So we want to make sure that those 2 things don't happen as it's rewritten, but it will affect trustees going forward. But we're going to put thought into revising that so that it doesn't impair either your personal or professional life. And concluding on member outreach, we have various presentations that have happened over the last several months. And I'm not an individual that typically goes into review. So I always kind of, when I see that, I think somebody needs to go out of their way to submit some feedback. And I'll just highlight the last. Your team's professional and unparalleled commitment to customer service continue to elevate the quality of our training program. So kudos to member outreach. So with that, happy to take any questions and certainly appreciate the time.
Thank you, Ryan. Is there any questions for Ryan? Hearing none. I want to thank you, Ryan, and thank you for all the report, and congratulations to staff. And new business is the next thing on the agenda, and I do not have any new business. Does anyone else have something to bring forward for new business? Okay, hearing none, it is now time for closed session. And is there a motion to enter into closed session pursuant to KRS 61.810C to discuss pending litigation? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. There is a motion and a second. And I think it's Leanne. Are you going to read the
I think you need to take a vote still.
Oh, good idea. Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none. Now, Leanne, would you please read the
Yes.
statement?
A motion having been made in open session to move into closed session for a specific purpose, and such motion having carried by majority vote in open public session, the board shall now enter closed session to consider litigation pursuant to KRS 61.810(1)(c because of the necessity of protecting the confidentiality of the system's litigation strategy and preserving any available attorney-client privilege.
Thank you very much, Leanne.